Greetings from the project. I have finished rebuilding the front end of the trailer, and yeah, as you can remember, this whole area down here was all rotten, as well as right there. I also started sanding it, as you can see that top right half. Hopefully you can tell that half sanded. And also a bit over here in that whole quarter panel thing right there I sanded as well. But the main thing I wanted to get was structure down here. And yeah, all of this was rotten and disintegrated, and I just finished putting it back together. And it took a bunch of these. It's 1/4 inch. Before I said 1/8 inch and I was wrong. It's 1/4 inch plywood, and you cut it into 1-inch strips on a table saw, which my friend helped me do because I don't have a table saw. And then one at a time, you put glue on the back and nail them down to make that curve. Because if you can see this angle, how it's got that curve to it, so you can't just use a straight piece of wood, so you got to use this flexible wood. And it took 3 strips of that to make that, and it came out perfect. This is a perfect edge with that, and all that trim's going to line up perfectly. This guy as well, I'll do it on this side because it's better light. That corner piece I put in there, and this was the original piece that I used as a stencil, and this was also done in the same way, where it was glued layers of that same 1/4 inch plywood, and as you can see, it rots. And I thought a solid piece would be way better, and I'm trying to stick to original as best as I can, but when it comes to structure and actually improving the durability of the trailer, I'm going to make improvements like that. So that was one of the ones I made. I found a solid piece of wood, actually in a dumpster, for free, and put it in there and cut it to size, and it works perfectly. And just nailed it down, and again, it lines up perfect and makes that edge. So this will be ready to put the insulation back on and zip down. I'm also gonna treat all this wood. I mentioned before, I still got to get the product to treat the wood for in case this does leak again one day. The one other little problem I got is right here. The table leg, there's one leg that holds up the table on the inside. At some point, somebody punched that table leg through here and made a hole all the way through the inner wood. If I wanted to completely do it right, I would replace this entire board. It's all one solid piece. I don't want to do that. So I basically just kind of pushed it back through. I'll let you see it from the inside, and I'll put some putty on it, and it's not going to be perfect. As you can see, yeah, there's a little hole right there. And so I'll put putty on it and make it a little bit better. But I'll also probably put a patch on this back side, find something to patch that up and make it a little bit more stable. Yeah, so that part's done. And as far as the sanding, I was using those Scotch-Brite, and it just was taking way too long, and it wasn't as good as I wanted it to be, because I really wanted to get down to the metal and get off as much as I can. So I splurged, went out and bought a power sander. They were like, this is the orbital sander, and it was like you can get the DeWalt one at like Home Depot. It was like 80 bucks. I went to Harbor Freight and got this one for 35. It won't last 10 years like the DeWalt one will, but I only need it for this project. So I used that. I got a finer grade sanding pad. I got like 200 grit, 220 grit, which is more for finer stuff, and I wish I'd gotten a heavier one, and that's what I'm going to get tomorrow, because it took a little bit longer with the finer grit. I just really don't want to damage the metal, so I'm afraid of using a tougher grit that might actually damage the aluminum. But as you can see, it did a pretty good job. And yeah, there's still some of the stuff, especially in the contours, but you don't really want to get in there with the sander, because then you could damage the contours, and so I don't really mind leaving a little bit in there. The paint over the top, that'll be fine, but there were scratches in here also, some dents like this. The sander can get out some of them, like this one. Overall, there's really not a whole lot of damage on the skin, but some of the imperfections I was able to get out, and there's a scratch right there that I believe once I paint it, all that stuff's going to go away. The paint will kind of settle in there, because I'm going to be doing like 10 layers of paint on this thing. So paint and sand, and I think those little imperfections will come out when the final product is done. So yeah, that's my update as far as today. I'm really pleased how well that came together, and I'm also trying to catch these glue drips because I want the skin to be able to fit back on there flush, and if there's a glue drip sticking off the side, it might make a bump on the aluminum skin. Wiping that clean, and also I'm wiping it and stuffing it in any cracks that were made from my nails. An important thing, I pre-drilled all these holes because this wood is really brittle, and so if you just pounded a nail or zipped a screw in there, it would crack it. And so make sure and pre-drill all the holes. Yeah, I went with small nails instead of screws because, like I said, I had to do 3 layers of this stuff, and so if you zip a big screw in there, you don't have a whole lot of area to zip another one in and then another one in. So you want to use these really small nails that'll hold it in there. And then in a couple days I'm going to be putting all this together and zipping the J-rail on top of it anyway, so it's going to hold fine once all that's in there. If it was left out like this, then yeah, it wouldn't be good, but it's structure underneath, it'll all be held in there. And plus I put glue in between all the layers, wood glue, so it'll just hold together and make a lot more solid piece for the future. That shouldn't have to be replaced for a very long time, as long as I do this right. Yeah, tomorrow I am hopefully going to finish sanding the whole trailer. I got a whole weekend of good weather and no work. That's what I've been able to do. Hopefully I can finish sanding the whole trailer. I'm going to pull the cover on it and call it a night. Until next time, be well.